Welcome to Beyond the Gates 2023. This time we're out in the open, not in one of those shady, weird bars or venues, but actually in the very heart of Bergen history of black metal. What you will see in the background, possibly, is one of those famous churches that once upon a time decided to go, hey, by God, I entered the flames. So here we are with Taake interview. Sir, state your name and position. Why are you here with me killing time instead of, I don't know, doing something sensible?
Because we had enough of the festival already and needed to escape.
All right. Taake is 30 years today, I mean, this year.
Yes,
indeed. And that's quite a long time. How do you feel becoming way past normal adulthood?
Yeah. That time has just been flying more and more every year, hasn't it? The most important thing is I'm ready for 30 more years.
So you're gonna do 60?
Definitely.
All right. Now, you also have a new album out. By the time this interview is out, the album is probably very, very fresh from the album, right about the time. So let's start with the album name. Could you please state and explain what it's all about?
Yeah, I think this one has so many possible interpretations that I'll leave a bit up to the listener. First thing that pops into their mind. I actually put a lot of meaning into it myself. Distance can be so many things, physically, mentally, spiritually, whatnot. I think I'll leave it up to people to...
Yes. Fair enough. Now, how was this album, creation, songwriting, creating lyrics? How different was it this time? Was it one of those albums that you just kind of automatically get done and...
No, it was quite different this time, actually. It was already 6 years since the previous album, for some reason. But I have been more inspired than ever, I think. Starting a bit before the Corona time, I was already isolating myself more and more. And I realized that with fewer distractions and more alone time and just more distance to everything, I could focus a lot more and really got in touch with this creative source inside and just to stay in it for months and months at a time.
So this has been kind of a slow-cooked album in a way.
Yeah, I wouldn't say slow-cooked, but I went into the studio with 21 songs. I never made so many songs in such a short while. And I think it all holds quality. I had to start recording all of them because I didn't know which ones would be the best to have on the album. So it's basically more than enough material for 3 albums. And somewhere in the process I realized, okay, it has to be these 4. Quite a few left.
Yeah, we could describe Taake as kind of like a in between so many things. It's not the rawest, it's not the softest, it's not the fastest, but it's not exactly slow and doomy or anything like that. And there's a lot of organic feeling with the atmospheric stuff. What makes you tick in a way that this is the Taake style, the signature style?
We probably are a mix of everything you said, except soft. Softest. Yeah, I've always been very receptive to all kinds of music. So it's been natural to really also express myself through a lot of different styles. And I think that keeps it maybe surprising sometimes, less boring, unpredictable. Yeah, I think it should be very varied.
Now, in hindsight, if you take a look at these 30 years and think about it, it's like a fucking age of a human life, like a lot of stuff can really fit into 30 years. Do you have regrets, like things that you did or things that you didn't do even if you were supposed to?
Yeah, I certainly regret that I didn't make more music, spend more time with it. I always had concentration problems. I really need a lot of solitude to really focus properly on it. So I really wish I was more active in composing. And probably a couple of situations and things that I don't think much about. Yeah, but in general, kind of satisfied with the way things have been going with the band, because still haven't had a peak, I would say. Going slowly up.
Yeah, I would say that recently when I went through the whole discography and the new album just very, very nicely popped in my email box, and I could really think about that comparing to the previous material and see, like, in my opinion, is like Taake is like always constantly a little bit going up and still remaining to the same, instead of like some bands which totally abandon their roots and decide to go totally different direction. But you keep the same style, but you still keep like evolving and kind of maturing in a like I don't know, good whiskey or so. How hard it is to keep this path? Like, do you ever get itchy like, I should do so totally something else?
Absolutely. That's why also at the same time as these 21 songs, I also made 11 songs with another project. So I always wanted to make some kind of monotonous rock music, but I could never really crack that code. Just one riff here, one there, and years went by. Then all of a sudden that came spewing out as well. And that is really satisfying, since it's filling a void that I always wanted to fill.
Are there any other genres you feel like you should be doing if you only had the time, the possibility and all?
Yeah, I wish my parents had forced me to play the fiddle.
What's so special about it?
It just speaks to me, that sound. And I would love to work with folk music, but it takes years to become a master, you know. So that is probably too late to start learning.
Do you really think so?
And you expect me to live particularly long? Yeah, of course I will. You never know. If I start it, I might not be able to stop. But I am not that patient, and I still don't know how to play the guitar or the drums. So how the hell am I gonna learn this fiddle?
Lose a fiddle type. How are you gonna make these new songs fit into the live scene of Taake with the old ones, especially with the longer structure and all?
Yeah, it's always been a luxury problem with Taake that we have too many songs to choose from, and with these really lengthy ones, it's going to be really difficult. But so far we have only rehearsed one of that, because it eats up like a fourth of a set sometimes.
Yeah, and like last time we did it was like 4 years ago, and I remember you asking these questions, like your early albums where you have songs like 1, 2, 3, and 4, and so on, and like then I was wondering like how do you come in and get, okay, now we have some totally fun, tough moment here. How do you explain your guys like, okay, we need to do the song number 3, and they're like, which one of them?
We had that situation that just an hour ago. It was at the rehearsal room. We were rehearsing from the 3 first albums, which are the ones with those titles. So, okay, number 2 now. Which one? 3 different number 2s we're gonna play.
So how do you solve it?
By having titles now instead. Oh, you mean that we
the old ones? Yeah.
Mention the title with a number.
Okay.
Obviously.
Now I think it calls for a transition phase. What do you think? Let's move.
Let's go.
So we were a little bit in a different year with Funtoft.
Went back in time from 1148 to now we are in 1146.
And what is this place exactly?
This is the very first monastery of Norway.
What is it called?
Necrolust.
Necrolust.
Yeah.
How does it translate?
Well, this place is called Lysefjorden. I guess everybody knows fjord, and lys means light.
So it's kind of a monastery of light or something like that? Okay. This place is particularly famous in Norwegian black metal for one reason, and that is the Immortal video, I guess.
I think everybody could see that already.
Yeah. So this place has weird history. You mentioned something like the rocks being moved and used somewhere else.
I hope I'm not lying here, but what I have heard is that when we were ruled by Denmark for a few hundreds of years, the king needed stones for his castle, and they don't have any mountains in Denmark.
Which kind of sucks for them.
We probably stole their mountains even before that. So they ravaged this beautiful place and used it for building a castle down there.
Now,
Which we have to use for the next location.
yeah, and we've been now driving quite a bit from one place to another, and these mountains never seem to end. There's lots of tree lines all over the place, and this must be very, very inspiring area for you and the people who have been, doing metal, or even beyond metal, of course. What these kind of places mean to you, both as a kid as an adult, because you've been around here forever.
Yeah, we pretty much stay away from them with all these mosquitoes. This is something I always thought was difficult to put into words, this feeling belonging to the nature. But I guess it's got something to do with the reasons why the monks went there in the first place. If you want to isolate yourself in a place like this.
This is not exactly close to anything bigger. I mean, Bergen is only close if you want to consider you like driving and all that stuff. So this is basically like in the middle of, I don't know, countryside basically.
Nowhere, yeah. Yeah, there's nothing in either direction, really.
So what do you think? Why people would come here like, hey, let's do a fucking music video? Is it just because of the history and isolation, or what's the story?
Well, you should ask the guys who did the music video here.
You mentioned you have some.
Yeah, actually, I have some footage of a ancient tree that used to stand over there. Luckily, I managed to have it in the Norway video before they cut it down.
Yeah. So where's the next place we're gonna be going and talking about a little bit more Norway and Taake? What's the location we're heading?
I'm getting kind of cold and full of mosquitoes. Should we just go home?
All right, let's do that. Now we are at your home.
Yes, indeed. Welcome.
One of the Bergen's mountains.
One of the 7.
Which one of the 7 this is called?
This is called Høest.
So basically Mount, how do you say it? Høest.
You're learning. Yeah.
So,
and behind us we have Fløyen and the tallest one, Ulrika.
Yeah, which are the most famous ones, I guess. And
yeah, but this one
is the seaside.
Yeah. From there it's out to England basically.
Yeah.
And the venue we are basically here for is, I think you can see one of the lights from here.
Yeah. So what people are seeing definitely here is the whole Bergen central area.
This is where the city started.
Yeah, this is how it started. So this is basically the more or less.
One more thing, kids. This mountain is taller than that one.
So now we're basically in one of the core places of Norwegian black metal, like Bergen being the very essence of Norwegian black metal. And now we come to the last topic of the whole trip. We've been running places a couple of hours now. You've been explaining a lot of Norwegian history, and you're always known for having Norwegian flag as your kind of a cloak, and you emphasize a lot of Norwegian things with Taake. What Norway means to you?
Means everything to me. I'm really proud to be Norwegian. I'm happy this is where I was born. This is where I'm going to stay.
You are?
And our history is quite unique in the verdenssammenhang. And also it also has to do with the fantastic black metal that was partly invented here.
Now, what was your, first steps into Norwegian black metal? What are the first baby steps? Like these are the ones that started.
So probably when I was a baby, with being already exposed to paintings of Theodor Kittelsen in all fairy tale books, and had an early interest in Viking history. And back then it was actually not the taboo it is today to really expose your kids to who we are.
Like going back to the roots, the ancestry, like where we are coming from, all the history.
Yeah, it's just natural. Plus, I'm from a farm, and the farming area is always good at taking care of the past.
How things have changed, in your opinion, like past 30 years, now that we tackled all the history, and in terms of like how black metal is being presented in Norway, and how Norwegian bands are emphasizing the Norwegian.
I do not really know what's going on in the so-called scene today. I don't really care. Here in Bergen doesn't seem to be that many young bands. I don't know what's going on in the rest of the country. But most of the old bands are still going in one form or the other.
And it seems like when we were going a little bit the different bars in Bergen, the metal bars, it seems like it's a kind of a combination of a little bit younger people, but also those who are like, have been here forever. You mentioned like bumping into some like really, really early birds of the Norwegian black metal scene, and they seem to be still going.
Well, I don't know if you can tell here who is Norwegian and who is not, because we're invaded by people from all over the world now.
Yeah.
But I don't go out that much either, so I'm maybe not the right person to ask you.
So what does this old nature mean to you? I mean, obviously it's a big part of how Norwegian soul is being constructed, or for the lack of better words, but what is your and nature's connection?
Well, since we are quite a long country, to put it that way, there was always really scattered cities, and I think everybody everywhere had this connection with the nature, because it was always so close. Like where I'm from, you know, the farms were always placed strategically. This one is right by a small mountain, salt water on one side and a lake on the other. And we weren't allowed to be inside all our childhood, only for dinner, then forced out again. Climbing trees and exploring, and you're destined to have a connection with it.
You, of course, have been in various places in Norway as well. How would you describe the differences between, say, certain key points, cities, and stuff inside Norway? Like, I mean, Oslo is different from Bergen, Bergen is different from Trondheim, and of course, the places all up in the north. How do you feel other, like, cultural, micro-cultural differences when it comes to Norwegian metal scene?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, like I mentioned a little bit, it's just a long distance from city to city, so every place could develop their own particular, peculiar, sometimes, culture. So yeah, I'm still trying to crack the code of Stavanger people, for example.
Stavanger has been a topic of today, like boring, and then one person is
not
like,
boring at all. But,
no, just joking.
But you understand? No, seriously, it's like every city is their own little, it's a little universe.
But do you know the answer? Because Bergen is not exactly the biggest city in Norway, even though it's relatively
second
big.
biggest.
Yeah, but do you know what is the reason why Bergen, of all the places, is the kind of a core of Norwegian black metal?
I think even as a Bergen patriot, Oslo is at least equal. Yeah, Dark from Mayhem, all that. I don't know. Maybe a picture says more than 1,000 words.
Yeah, maybe these mountains have a lot to do with it.
It certainly encapsulates the city. It's impossible to expand the city. It's locked within these mountains.
Do you often come to different mountains and looking for inspiration on, or are there some certain places that you go rather more often than the others?
Since I live here on the mountainside, I go here pretty much every night.
Which are the key points? Like, let's do a little bit Bergen advertising, okay? People now will come here and want to see the non-metallic things in Bergen, and really to like understand the climate and the environment. Which are the points that now a Bergen visitor should start with?
The first thing you should do is probably, to save time, go up to that mountain. You see that line of lights over there? It's a small funicular, which is a fancy word for train, I suppose. And it's just a few minutes up, and you're up and down and got a great view within half an hour. So that's what you should have done.
Yeah, I'm a bad tourist, definitely. What about the other places? What are the key things apart from these mountains to look for?
Well, it depends what you are interested in.
You mentioned the witch monuments, the witch burning ones.
Yeah, which is maybe half a meter from the aquarium, which seems to be quite unique for Norway. Probably not to the rest of the world, but it's quite famous. It's quite lovely, actually, if you're into maritime things. And we are famous for our fish. The fish market itself used to be great. Fishermen came with straight from the sea with fresh fish. Now it's a shadow of its former self, with frozen, overpriced shit that we definitely should be ashamed of instead. But I suppose see the huge troll crabs, for example, still alive before you can eat them. My first recommendation would be hiking, at least. And it's a small town. We don't have that much.
All right. What is the most how to say Norwegian love song from Taake discography, which mostly pays homage to whole Bergen thing?
Very good question. Thanks. I have a tendency to sneak in some nature references in every one.
So there is no one above the other.
If I go home and read through all the lyrics, probably there is one, but in general, I like to include it always. It's a permanent part of the whole expression.
What do you think about people who are like, you already kind of mentioned it briefly, but what do you think about people who are like abandoning their like roots? Like, you're openly giving the credit to Norway being the culture and all that stuff, and some people are like almost like a little bit ashamed of doing that, or like, no, I don't even want to talk about my home country because like we live in a very different world and all that stuff. What do you think?
I have been wondering why certain bands who used to be really national romantic in the whole expression have abandoned it. But these are mostly bands that I do not know personally, so I have no idea what really caused it. Hopefully you can ask them yourself.
Maybe one day we will find out an answer to that. I think this is really time to put things wrapping up. And I think we
get
will
back to the city in time for Pentagram.
Well, we will take our last sips of drinks. Now, I probably asked this in 2019, but now let's get back to the 2023 version. What is the final wisdom of today you would share with the audience?
At a festival, escape to the mountain until Pentagram.
All right, we'll cheers to that. People, check out the
Keepers.
Skål. Check out the latest Taake album and start doing the whole discography and figure out the nature parts and get a sniff of real Bergen spirit. This is Beyond the Gates 2023. This is Høest from Taake. This is Rauta. Good night. Off you go.